Hello and welcome to another edition of Bangladesh Today. In this episode, we have two interviews conducted in Dhaka. We met up with a brave Bangladeshi freedom fighter, Firdausi Priyabhashini. The spirited lady has been through hell and back. During the Liberation War of 1971, Firdausi was taken into a torture cell by the Pakistani occupation forces. She was repeatedly gang raped. Firdausi saw several women in what she says were concentration camps. The women were kept naked and brutally violated. Stories of war crimes which have been largely ignored by the world.
Official figures estimate that thousands of women were raped when West Pakistan sent in its army to try and stop East Pakistan becoming an independent Bangladesh in 1971. 9-month war of secession left 3 million people dead. Thousands of victims like Priyabhashini still await justice. They have high hopes from War Crime Tribunal, which came into existence in 2010 after 40 years of inaction against the war criminals. Majority of war crime victims believe that to bring tribunal to its logical conclusion, it requires wrapping up of investigations of all those who were accused before Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's 5-year term ends in 2014. As constant collaborative attempts have been made by Jamaat, Army and opposition BNP to sabotage and vilify the ongoing trials.
আমি তো সহসাই ঝড়ের মুখে পড়েছিলাম। মানুষ যেমন ঝড়ের কবলে পড়ে রাস্তা থেকে সবাই দৌড়ে পালিয়ে যায়, একা একজন পড়ে যায়, আমিও ঠিক যে কোনো ভাবে একা হয়ে গিয়েছিলাম। এবং আমি সেখানে আমার বয়স তখন 23 বছর। আমি এই যুদ্ধের কবলে যে কোনো ভাবে আমি একা হয়ে পড়েছিলাম। এই একা হয়ে পড়ার কারণেই আমি পাকিস্তানি সেনাবাহিনী দ্বারা নির্যাতিত এবং তদানীন্তন এই সব সেনাবাহিনীকে যারা সহায়তা দিয়েছে তাদের দ্বারা আমি অবরুদ্ধ হয়ে পড়েছিলাম। নিয়ে গেল এবং ছুটলো গাড়ি। তো আমি যেহেতু জায়গাগুলো চিনি, তো নোয়াপাড়াতে কাছে এসে বলছে এটা স্টেশন ওয়াগন ছিল। তো তখন আমি গ্যাং রেপড হলাম ওখানে একটা নোয়াপাড়া একটা জায়গাতে থামিয়ে। এগুলো বলতে যত সোজা, ভাবতে গেলে অনেক ব্যাপার হয়ে যায়। সেটা আমাকে বের করা যায়, আমি এখানে নারকীয়ভাবে ইয়ে করলো, নির্যাতন করলো। আমি শুধুই হাতে পায়ে ধরি অনেক কষ্টে যখন কনসেন্ট্রেশন ক্যাম্পে আমাকে একেবারেই ফাইনালি নিয়ে যাওয়া হলো, সেখানে গিয়ে আর আমি ঠিক থাকতে পারিনি। একটা ব্যারাকের মতো আমাকে ঢুকিয়েই দরজার গেটটা বন্ধ করে দিয়েছে। তখন খুব কান্নাকাটি চিৎকার করতে করতে দেখি একজন আর্মি অফিসার বেরিয়ে আসলো। উনি আমার ইন্টারভিউশন নিচ্ছিলেন সন্ধ্যাবেলায়। তো উনি বলছেন যে তুমি কান্নাকাটি করো না, আমি দেখছি কি চাচ্ছ, বলে আমাকে বের করা যাচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, আমি এখানে থাকবো না। আমি অবশ্য শুনি নাই যে কনসেন্ট্রেশন ক্যাম্প কি, দেখিও নাই। আর ওখানে যাওয়াতে আমি বুঝলাম যে এটা বিভৎস জায়গা, বিভৎস। আমাকে কয়েক পা হাঁটিয়ে নিয়ে গেল। দুপাশে দেখতে পাই ঘরের মেয়েরা, বিবস্ত্র পরিস্থিতি, বিবস্ত্র একটা জীবন্ত কবর, মানে কবরের মতো জায়গাটা মনে হচ্ছিল। তারপরে যাই হোক, সকলেই তো কিছু তো মানুষের মধ্যে মানুষ থাকতে পারে। এই ভদ্রলোক আমাকে ওখান থেকে বলে যে তুমি আসো, আমি তোমার ইয়েটা নেব করে কোনো মতে রাত্রে থাকলাম। কিন্তু ওই রাতটা তো নিরাপদ না, যে কোনোভাবেই নিরাপদে থাকিনি। তারপরে আমি বহু কষ্টে ওখান থেকে বেরিয়ে আসতে সক্ষম হই। এই আর্মি অফিসার আমাকে হেল্প করেছিল আমার বেরিয়ে আসার ব্যাপারে। এটা বাদেও আমি সারাটা বছর, প্রায় 9 মাসের রেশিওতে যদি আমি চিন্তা করি, যেমন হত্যা হয়েছে, তখন আমি আমার অফিসে আমি প্রতিটি পলে পলে নির্যাতিত হয়েছি। আমাকে অ্যাভারেজ আমাকে প্রায় প্রত্যেক দিন অনেককে রিসিভ করতে হতো। এটা একটা নির্যাতন, এটা আমি বর্ণনা করতে পারি না এই জন্য যে আমি হিসাব দিলে আপনাদের কাছে হিসাবটা মিলবে না, কি অত্যাচার হতে পারে সেটা।
Firdausi is today a celebrated sculptor, but can somebody who has experienced such horrors ever forget or forgive? Especially because those who brought about such horrors upon women like Firdausi have not been punished. By some estimates, there were over 400,000 women like her who were tortured.
According to the members of the War Crimes Fact-Finding Committee, an independent body investigating the 1971 massacres, 95% of the atrocities were committed by Pakistani soldiers who resisted secession and were under orders to kill to prevent it, on the theory that the Islamic unity of the two wings of Pakistan must not be compromised. Yet none of them will be in court, nor will any member of the pro-independence militias will be charged. Although the process of putting collaborators on trial began after the defeat of the Pakistani army on December 16, 1971, the tribunal process was derailed after the assassination of independence icon Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in August 1975. However, the following 3 decades, a succession of military administrations has swept aside all attempts at justice, fearing it could implicate many within their own ranks.
যে আমরা সভ্যতাকে মানছি বলেই গোলাম আযমের বাড়িতে গোলাম আযম এখনো 40টা বছর সুন্দর আরামে থেকে গেছেন। তার জন্য কিন্তু কোনো গণতন্ত্র অপেক্ষা করছে না। এইসব যুদ্ধ অপরাধীদের জন্য গণতন্ত্র নয়, এবং এদেরকে যারা পবিত্র সংসদে পতাকা উড়িয়ে পাঠিয়েছে তাদেরও যুদ্ধ অপরাধী হিসাবে গণ্য করা হবে কিনা হোক, আমরা দাবি করব এটা, আমি তো দাবি করব এটা। তা আমাদের দাবি হচ্ছে এইসব যুদ্ধ অপরাধীদেরকে যারা সহায়তা দিচ্ছে, যারা সেদিন সহায়তা দিয়েছিল, তাদের প্রত্যেকেরই শাস্তি হওয়া উচিত। এই যুদ্ধ অপরাধীরা যেভাবে হত্যা, লুণ্ঠন, ধর্ষণ সবকিছু ঘটিয়েছে, গ্রামকে গ্রাম জ্বালিয়েছে, এত সহজে 30 লক্ষ প্রাণ হত্যা হতে পারে না। 9 মাসের রেশিওতে হিসাব করলে প্রতি মিনিটে 5 জন করে হত্যা হয়। যুদ্ধপ্রতিদের বিচার নিয়ে যেহেতু আমরা গোটা জাতি সোচ্চার, সেখান থেকে আমি অবশ্যই স্ট্রংলি বলবো আমরা কঠোর শাস্তি দাবি করছি, এবং এই আদালত ট্রাইব্যুনাল আরও অনেক বেশি শক্তিশালী হবে, অনেক বেশি ঐতিহাসিক হবে, অনেক বেশি আন্তর্জাতিক হবে। হ্যাঁ, রাতের আধারে চুপি চুপি 2 জনকে শাস্তি দিলাম, 1 জনকে ছেড়ে দিলাম, একজনের সাক্ষী পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না, এটা আমরা মানতে পারছি না। তাহলে এটা কিছুতে আমরা মানব না।
Firdausi was the first woman to formally testify 28 years after Bangladesh's independence on how she was brutally repressed by the Pakistani army during the 9-month-long War of Liberation. Her testimony was published in a book, Tormenting 71, edited by Shahryar Kabir. We met with Shahryar Kabir in Dhaka and spoke to him about the trial of the 71 war criminals and if the victims will ever find closure.
Major challenges lie before the tribunal. The government is instead focusing on the Razakars, internal collaborators who led, assisted and committed crimes in conjunction with the Pakistani administration, then in control of the country. For the moment, the attention is falling squarely on Jamaat and its allies. Trying and punishing members of the former Pakistani army is too sensitive politically for the current Bangladeshi government to even contemplate. It could cause a complete breakdown in relations with Pakistan. Moreover, there is no extradition treaty between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Most of those facing trial are from the Islamist party, Jamaat-e-Islami. All of them deny the allegations, accusing the government of carrying out a vendetta. Many of the perpetrators of war crimes are long dead, and many have taken refuge in foreign land.
Well, you see, the uniqueness of this trial in Bangladesh is that for the first time, Bangladesh is trying some certain, international crimes. These crimes, which were, happened during the war of 1971, war crimes, crimes against humanity, or genocide, or crimes against peace, these are all considered as international crimes. Throughout the 9-month-long liberation war, Pakistani army and the local collaborators, mainly Jamaat-e-Islami, Muslim League and Nizami Islam, they have killed 3 million innocent people, raped nearly 250,000 women, and 10 million people were forced to leave Bangladesh, took shelter in neighboring India. That is the worst type of crimes against humanity and genocide we have ever seen since Second World War. So the war crimes and crimes against humanity and the genocide perpetrated by the Pakistani army and the local collaborators, they escaped the trial. Initially, the first government of Bangladesh, led by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, they started a trial process, but after the brutal assassination of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in 1975, General Ziaur Rahman assumed power and he stopped the trial process by repealing the Collaborators Act, under which the trial was being conducted. And it is very important for us, the people of Bangladesh, the victims of the war, they were waiting for this trial for the last 40 years. Now time has come to ensure justice to the victims and to ensure the rule of law, to ensure the sense of civility, because we have to prove that we are a civilized nation. If someone commits a crime, he cannot spare the trial. And what happened in Pakistan, one of the very famous, American scholar named Professor Ben Kiernan, he recorded in his book, History of Genocide from Rwanda, Sparta to Darfur. There is a long chapter on Bangladesh genocide, and he mentioned it categorically. Those who committed genocide in Bangladesh, the Pakistani generals as well as the leaders of the Jamaat-e-Islami, they got impunity. And what happened? This impunity resulted in the rise of Al-Qaeda. Those Pakistani generals, they are responsible for creation of Al-Qaeda, and Jamaat-e-Islami, when they were in power from 2001 to 2006, sharing power with BNP, at that time we have seen and mushroom growth of Islamic militancy in Bangladesh. So that happens, if you don't try the war criminals, similar crimes will continue. Al-Qaeda, what Professor Ben mentioned in his book, they got inspiration from the impunity of 1971's genocide.
Official Bangladesh records show 3 million people were killed by the Pakistan army and their local collaborators during the 9-month war that ended in December 1971, heralding the birth of Bangladesh. A war crimes tribunal, which was set up in 2010, requires wrapping up investigations of all those who were accused, as the government aims to finish their trials before Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's 5-year term ends. She took charge of office in early 2009. The trial of those accused of their involvement in the crimes against humanity, genocide during the 1971 Liberation War, has garnered international condemnation from some human rights organizations and also the Jamaat-e-Islami party. Another controversy surrounding the tribunal is that decisions that no Pakistani would be tried under the International Crimes Tribunals Act 1973, which effectively gives immunity to the army commanders of the Pakistan Army, who are generally considered to be ultimately responsible for the majority of the crimes of 1971.
Policymakers of the government, they are quite sincere about the trial of the war criminals or the perpetrators of genocide or crimes against humanity, but it is a very, difficult task. Difficult in a way, there are many challenges that we are trying such crimes after 40 years. It's a big challenge because time is a very big factor, Most of the victims, eyewitnesses, they already died, and some of the war criminals are no more. And there are problems collecting evidences from other countries, There are many evidences of the war crimes or the genocide of Bangladesh in foreign press. And our government must take initiative to collect all these materials which are with the, foreign television, both electronic and print media in different countries. Because at that time, there were many journalists, foreign journalists were here. since day one when this genocide started from 25th March 1971. It is the most brutal genocide what we have seen during the war. So that is one of the major challenge to the tribunal is that one is the time factor, another is collecting evidences from other countries and provide logistics, sufficient logistics should be there. We have seen that what type of preparation the Allied forces have taken while trying the Nazi war criminals or the Japanese war criminals in Tokyo trial and in Nuremberg trial. So that is very important, and we are confident enough that we have able jurists in Bangladesh, we have our own law, it is very strong law and compatible to any international law. And I'm quite confident that if the logistic is provided, the trial should be completed within the limited specific time.
The world can quibble over the term genocide or partial genocide for what happened in 1971. The fact remains that when 300,000 to 500,000 people are killed and 400,000 women are raped, 8 to 10 million people flee their homes to neighboring India to seek refuge, it is something that cannot and should not go unpunished.
Bangladesh, born of a brutal and tragic civil war in 1971, is finally trying to come to terms with its violent past. Today, the Islamists in Bangladesh are trying to regroup into a powerful extremist force and oppose to progressive policies of democratically elected government. The Islamist forces are so far allying with the main Bangladesh opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party (BNP), and have launched a movement within and outside Bangladesh to vilify the trials. Their aim is to slow the judicial process till the next general elections, when it is hoped that BNP, led by Begum Khalida Zia, would return to power and quash the trials. But for the thousands of Bangladeshis who remain scarred by the events of the 1971 civil war, the trials are the only means of redress.
The guilty must be brought to justice, even if it has taken a very long time. That's all what we have for you in this edition of Bangladesh Today. See you next week.